Let's freaking go. Our first Sunday night live stream in quite some time. We get a little bit of off-season news. We did not go live last night because I was hanging out with some of you yesterday. That was a lot of fun. Every time I get the opportunity to meet you guys, it feels awesome. So I really appreciate that. We'll talk more about that coming up in more future PHL meetups. But we're going to get to the big story here. Michael Daugherty enters the transfer portal after only being at LSU for 2 months. So we already get a super chat here. LSU is DBU. What's up, Buster? Good to see you. Cliff, Joshua, LA Mom, Normal Guy, TOV. I think I saw J-Red in here a little bit earlier. Let's see. A lot of PHL OGs in this thing already. The rare Sunday night live stream. You guys let me know if you prefer Sunday nights over Saturday. I might move our Saturday night to Sunday night. I do think some of you prefer it. We might do both nights. Why not? Also, starting off before we get into this Michael Daugherty story, we are releasing more shorts. I released a quick hitter video from Mike Anderson Seafood yesterday, but tomorrow night, Colin Hurley is scheduled to be on PHL. So we're looking forward to that. Obviously, he is the 4-star quarterback who is committed to LSU for the class of 2024. We're really excited to have him. Also, a little strange that not strange, but really cool, actually. They actually used my voice for one of his promotional videos not too long ago. So, to Buster Super Chat here. What's up, Cliff? Good to see you. I miss you already, cuzzo. Skipper. Good to see you, Derek. Let me start off here with a very simple thing. All right, this is just a blanket statement. I am pro player. Do whatever you want to do with your life. You only have 4 years of eligibility, 5 to 6-ish years for you to play college football, and then it's done, right? So anything I say isn't anti-player or anti-coach or anti-university. It's just how I see it. But there are some things that LSU and Michael Daugherty himself can learn from this experience. So for those that are not familiar, Michael Daugherty was a 4-star safety according to Rivals, but most services had him as a 3-star. Now, how good of a 3-star is he? Well, there's levels to it, right? Some 3-stars are in the 700, 800 range, right? Some 3-stars are 3-stars that are almost 4-stars, right? So it's strange. He was more of the middle tier 3-star, right? Not like a high level 3-star, but he was a decent player with offers from all around the country. Okay. And he decides to go to LSU, and he was pretty locked into LSU for quite some time. And he is at LSU for 2 months, and he has already entered the transfer portal. Okay. So he signed his LOI, and the best way I have had it explained to me, I could be totally wrong, there is another transfer portal window that opens up. The first one has already closed, but players can enter the transfer portal on May 1st to May 15th and go to a new school. But the best I understand it is he cannot play for a new school next year unless he gets a special kind of waiver signed. Okay. So whether or not he's eligible, he looks as if he is not going to be at LSU next year. Now, could he potentially come back to LSU? Yeah, he could. I mean, when you enter the transfer portal, you can always come back out. But let me ask you guys and gals this. Type Y for yes, type N for no. And I know some of you hardly even know who this kid is. But I'm serious. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Is this player a player you thought was high on your board, right? I know a lot of you do your own evaluations. A lot of you feel different ways about certain players. I can say that a lot of you are huge Jeremiah Hughes fan out of Vegas. Um, but type Y for yes, type N for no. Do you believe that this guy was good? Okay. Now, my patrons might know a little bit about how I felt about him previous to this. And this is just a little context clues for how I do content. You guys have seen we have done 4 recruiting deep dives. Now, we have not done one in a few days now. Some of that is, traveling to do the 104.5 show on Wednesday. Also, some of that is I like to have a clear mind. And as Cliff can tell you, as a family, we had a pretty emotional weekend. Me burying someone in my family. So, I like to have a clear mind when I do these recruiting breakdowns because I spend a lot of time on them. I try my best to look at as much tape as I possibly can. And I would be the first to tell you that I have not spent a gazillion hours looking at Michael Dougherty. So, just to give you, once again, a little bit more of a behind the scenes, what I do is I go through each and every player LSU brings in, and I try and watch as much footage on them as I possibly can right off the bat, right? And this is not just, he can come back. He can definitely come back, and I will support him. Um, and I support each and every player that wears LSU purple and gold or signs to play LSU purple and gold. Michael Dougherty was in my bottom 4 players that signed for LSU in this last cycle, as far as like high school guys are concerned. It was a strange evaluation because in Georgia, he did play not quite safety, but not quite linebacker. He played kind of a hybrid ish kind of role. It changed a little bit as a senior, but for the most part, he wasn't really a deep safety. Now, he was a playmaker, like everybody that signs at LSU is going to hopefully make plays on their tape. But I just didn't see a whole lot of wow just from my eyesight. I think he's fine. I think he's going to be, a solid player wherever he ends up. But he was not somebody that, like jumped off, like a Toviano or obviously, a Lance Hurd. And the recruiting rankings reflected that. And the truth is, more often than not, the recruiting rankings do get it right. Now, there are some guys that I have shared on here plenty of times that I think were criminally underrated. But the truth is, Michael Dougherty was fine for me. He wasn't someone that just that just blew me away. Now, once again, I did not do like a deep study. I just watch, whichever footage is available, and yeah. So it's one of those things. This is not a big loss for LSU in my estimation, just based on my evaluation. Now, LSU might have him completely graded differently than how I see it. They might think he is, the next whoever, the next great Jamal Adams or whoever it may be. But the truth is, I just didn't see him as someone that was transcendent, if you will. Now, I would have supported him, and I'm still going to wish him all the best, and I hope he lives all his dreams. He seems like a very interesting guy. But, if your nickname is King, and I believe his nickname is King, you don't pack your bags after 2 months of being at LSU. And look, that's I understand he's a kid and indecisiveness creeps in and you can get homesick. It happens all the time. It really does. So I understand, the mental struggle it is to actually play the sport of college football. And I hope he finds happiness wherever he goes. And he seems like an interesting guy. But the truth is it's strange that you're not even gone through a spring and it's over. So you do begin to wonder, are there other factors here at play that we just don't know about publicly? Maybe so. Maybe there's some other things that we just don't know a whole lot about. But I don't think that this is something that you should fret over. I really, really don't. So yeah, there we go. That's cool. As Cliff could tell you, this was tough, but it was good. You guys know death is something that does bring families together. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. But I like I always say with every player, I wish him the best, of course, unless he goes to one of our rival schools. Then you become our opponent, our enemy, not like evil enemy, but you do become someone that we have to play. And it is very bizarre. So maybe there are some other things that we learn about, but the fact of the matter is I don't think he would have played a lot year one. So you're looking at a year two player anyway. And honestly, I think LSU feels pretty good about some of these other safeties that are going to be a part of the future of the program. So, for me, I like I said briefly in the short yesterday, he's obviously a guy that has a bright future, but I think LSU will be fine. Now, I would sound a lot different if this was Toviano. I would sound a lot different if this was Kyle Parker or someone else that I think has some real chops. But for me, I don't think this is something. And look, my phone blew up yesterday. Whenever like a bizarre news story like this happens, I'm very happy that we have a very active Discord community. We want you to join that, and we're going to do something obviously pretty fun right here. Um, so I actually still have this card. We tried to give it away last week. We're going to give it away right now. The next person that signs up for the PHL Patreon, I'm hooking you up with a Garrett Nussmeyer auto. I might even have a better one I can send you, but there we go. And it's very easy to sign up for the PHL Patreon. All you got to do is click that link right there. So yeah. Now, I would have liked to have seen him though, at least practice. But this happens. Now, is there anything that LSU can learn from this? Maybe. Maybe, just maybe. Okay? Because look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that all 3 stars from out of state are players that you shouldn't pursue, right? One was a big piece of what we did last year as a true freshman in Mason Taylor, right? But we knew Mason Taylor probably was going to be okay. His high school tape was really good. Played at a very competitive high school. And let's be honest, if you actually watched him his senior year, he actually did look a lot better than what he did as a junior. And he's also the son of one of the most disciplined, legendary stars of the modern era of pro football. So that was a little bit different. But it is interesting that almost every year LSU has one of these 3 stars that leaves before they ever even practice, before they ever even put a pad on for LSU. We saw, Jalen Sheed do this. We saw, what was the kid's name? The offensive lineman out of West Virginia, the 2017 class. This happens a lot more than we would probably think. And a lot of guys just don't even really give it a chance, even if playing time is in the future. It's strange, right? Because we are all LSU fans. We would kill for the opportunity to be offered a scholarship to play. But I do think LSU will begin to say, hey, is it worth all our time and resources to recruit high school kids who are younger, not as mature, would that is not transferred yet, is it worth us getting guys that aren't true needle movers, right? Maybe LSU and maybe schools in general moving forward are really going to sit and think about high school recruiting a little bit differently, because no matter how you cut it, it is hard to recruit out of staters to come to LSU. It's hard. It's hard to recruit anybody from out of state to go anywhere, because most kids are being pursued, especially if they are on LSU's radar, by every other school that you can think of. And it's hard. Recruiting is hard. So there are some guys that you should spend the time and the resources and money. Let's be honest, that's a big part of what happens now. There are some guys, Colin Simmons, class of 2024, you should do whatever it freaking takes to get a transcendent level 5-star pass rusher. And I shouldn't say transcendent. I haven't really watched him closely, but he's really good. As good as it gets when it comes to a pass rusher. And he is out of Texas. So we know Texas produces high-level pass rushers. As you guys know, the best one on the team is from that state. And he was also a 5-star. That's a guy you should do whatever it takes to get, right? Obviously, Harold Perkins is another example of that. The kid that we're going to have on tomorrow, Colin Hurley, is a guy that you should spend a lot of resources and time to get on campus. And, I don't know, like, the ins and outs of how much it took Michael Dougherty to get to campus. But you guys let me know in the comment section if, like, let's say, like, you're bringing in a transfer portal defensive back. Well, the likelihood that they are going to leave is little because they're already leaving one school, right? It's make or break. It's more often than not year 2 or year 3. And if you want to make it to the NFL, guess what? The NFL wants you to be a year 2, year 3, year 4 at worst kind of guy. They don't want year 5 guys. So it's one of those things, right? Mason gets his talent from Auntie. I guess I need to get clarification if I could officially call Joy Taylor a friend of the channel. I think we kind of can, but we kind of can't. Obviously, hung out with her once through a strong mutual friend, and she was awesome. I'm not going to lie. She is so obviously she's a great broadcaster, but she has such a great mind. And that was a weekend I'll never forget in Atlanta. As I got to meet a lot of cool people that weekend, even though we didn't get the result that we wanted. But shout out to Joy Taylor. We'd love to have her on the channel. Yeah, it's interesting. Shout out to LSU baseball. I saw Dylan Cruz went 4 for 4 today. So yeah, that's great. I have been traveling all day. So there you go. Shout out LSU baseball, LSU women's basketball. I did watch the LSU men's basketball with some PHLers last night, which was very fun. But yeah, it wasn't fun because of result. Moving is a pain. I'm moving Tuesday and never want to move again. What's up? TJ? I know life has been coming at you fast lately. Good to see you, man. Gotta get you ready for the big day next year, man. I'm coming too. I've invited myself to TJ's wedding, and I'm bringing 3 PHLers with me. So I don't know who it's going to be, but 3 y'all are coming with me to TJ's wedding. I just invited myself, so TJ can't do anything about it. That's on me. And trust me, I am the person, TJ, you want to have at your wedding, because I'm going to drink all your booze, eat all your food, and be the life of the party. There you go. And this is what I'm wearing. I'm wearing exactly this. Okay. Now, here's what we're not going to do. All right. We're going to stay on LSU topic for now. But a little bit later, I will discuss what some of you guys are debating in the chat right now. Zach Thomas being a Hall of Famer. Okay. Now, if you super chat, I will give you my honest thoughts about Zach Thomas being in the Hall of Fame because I watched a lot of him growing up and I liked him a lot. But I'm going to give you my honest thoughts about that if you super chat. But hold true to that topic. We'll get to it a little bit later. Okay. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to touch on a few other LSU football stories. Okay. Um, Obviously, JoJo Stone, Zion Ferguson, they're camping in Atlanta this weekend. That's obviously really cool. They're 2024 LSU commits. So we'll, once again, as far as 2024 guys, I'm down for having 2024 recruits on the channel. Obviously, Colin Hurley coming on tomorrow, but it's still a long way from when they actually sign. I don't spend too much time talking 2024s, but obviously LSU shaping up to have a really, really, really good class. Um, I'll talk some LSU spring news and notes, talk some SEC stuff right now. Okay, so as many of you know, I'm constantly looking at stats. I'm constantly looking at different perspectives surrounding LSU football as we move into next year. One thing I think is very interesting, and we just did a deep dive on this, and we have a bunch of new viewers and subscribers that come in. But about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I dropped a deep dive on how concerned I am about the Missouri game, next year and where it falls on the schedule. And the more and more I look at the LSU schedule as a whole, the better I actually feel about LSU's potential championship run next year. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the LSU schedule up on the screen. But first, I want to show you a few of my favorite PHLers. There's Leonard right there rocking the PHL merch. There's me and my guy Skipper. Obviously, Skipper, one of the BFFs of PHL. Hadn't seen Rick in a bit. I gotta get Rick back in this thing. So here is the schedule, and once again, we will get into the Zach Thomas debate a little bit later. Okay. Um. So as you guys can see, the schedule does shape up a little strange, right? Florida being moved to later in the season, Arkansas being moved to earlier in the season. The Arkansas game essentially, getting, that game's used to being in late November, the 25th weekend rivalry week, but that is no longer the case. So, Arkansas being moved earlier is obviously very weird indeed. It's also very strange that we only have two true home games in the first half of the season, and you end the season with 5 of your last 6 games being played at home. Now, before we continue here with a few scheduling things I've been looking into, Tyler brings up a very interesting question. Does Daugherty leaving hurt the Grayson pipeline? No, because the thing that I would bring up here, Tyler, is what did LSU do wrong here, right? Nothing. They didn't do anything, right? They signed the kid. They gave him the opportunity. They obviously told him, "Hey, you can come earn a roster spot." And also, you're a 3-star, right? This is there's millions of 3-stars that would love anything than an LSU offer. And I don't know what else LSU could have done in this situation. Okay. Now, is Georgia a very popular place to go get big time football players? Absolutely. But, you can't just sit here and say, well, this guy left us. Let's go make sure that we can sure things up on the forefront of making sure that kids from this high school continues to come to LSU. So, look, LSU has had a lot of players come out of the state of Georgia that turned out to be really, big time players for us. Obviously, BJ Ojolari being, the latest, but No, I don't think it's going to hurt any type of pipeline, because they didn't do anything, right? Unless for some reason maybe there is something that we don't know about. Once again, I don't know the full ins and outs of what actually even happened here. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there was just a mutual parting of ways here. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's just very bizarre. Maybe one day we'll learn about it. But the truth is, LSU brought in a ton of defensive backs for this class for a reason. Okay. So thank you so much, Tyler, for the super chat. 2 super chats already in the first 25 minutes. Are you kidding me? Guys, thank you so much for making PHL very special. John Sibley says we are concerned about a lot of games. Um, Rob, I think actually most of PHL, when we asked if this is a big deal, I think most of you put in for no. So I don't think anybody is really. I've had a few people concerned, but I think the overwhelming majority feels fine about where we are right now. Um, the only Georgia pipeline we had was deep snappers from Buford. That's true. And they were brothers, and obviously Quentin Skinner. But we have the GOAT deep snapper on the team now, Mr. Slade Motherfreaking Roy. Shout out to Slade. Let's go to John Sibley here talking about the schedule. John Sibley, big time supporter of PHL. He says FSU Arkansas will be problematic. The dreaded second year jinx for coaches. Yeah, Florida State is going to be very good, and as of now, the game is essentially a pick 'em. Florida State's favored by 1. When things were initially released, this game is just going to be pick 'em. I mean, it's just the bottom line. Um, could LSU blow them out? Yeah, absolutely. But Florida State can easily run us off the field as well because they have a really good football team coming back, next year. So, for me, I'm not getting too deep into, that game in particular because there is just going to be such a big lead up. What's interesting though, is like all these other games become very tricky. Now, what's fascinating to me is because Mississippi State goes from the legendary Mike Leach to first year head coach, Zach Arnett. I feel as if of all our SEC West matchups this year, Mississippi State, even though it is a true road game, becomes the easiest true road game that we have on our schedule. Now, do I think there is a massive talent gap between Mississippi State and Missouri? No, Mississippi State probably has a better roster than Missouri. But remember, college football is a sport that has more to do with when you play teams at times than who you play. And the Columbia, Missouri trip a week after going to Oxford is an absolutely brutal back to back. And look, it's not brutal in terms of the teams, but I'm telling you, I've done 1,000 deep dives on this. Back to back road games are never kind to college students, right? It's really freaking hard to win back to back road games. Only 2 teams since 2019, excluding the 2020 season where there weren't really crowds. Um, Only 2 teams have won true back to back road games and gone 2-0 in that stretch, and that is 2019 LSU and 2022 Georgia. So 2 of the greatest teams of all freaking time. So it's hard. It's really hard to do it. And look, Missouri is not going to be that great. They're not even a top 5 team on our schedule next year, but they're going to be decent. They're a very solid, tricky bunch, especially if that game is an 11 a.m. game. And if you follow the SEC, you do know this. Missouri does play a high volume of home day games, and a lot of those do kick off at 11. So, yeah, it's going to be a tricky new schedule for us next year. Playing Florida after playing Alabama is going to be interesting. What does Auburn look like? We got to play Auburn with first-year head coach Hugh Freeze, and maybe second-year quarterback Robbie Ashford. So it's very interesting. So at this point, type Y for yes, type N for no. You think LSU is a 10-win lock for next season? Type Y for yes, type N for no. 10-win lock for next year. Got a great roster. We have freaking Jane Daniels coming back. Every neutral observer has Jane Daniels as a top 10, top 15 quarterback coming back in the entire sport. Wobble, good to see you. Thanks for your friendship. Thanks for your patronage. Rob G, what's up? Another one of our big time patrons. Look at this. Trey. We got Trey and Pierce, two PHLOGs. Good to see you. Linda in North Louisiana. Good to see you. Linda holding it down in the 318. Thank you so much, Trey, for thank you so much, Trey, for the generous super chat. I appreciate it. Always love the Venmo super chats that go a long way. So everybody throw some clap emojis down for Trey. He just sent me a very nice Venmo. I really appreciate you, Trey. And also, I always mention this with Trey. Okay. Trey's daughter was one of the first members of the Bug the Dog fan club. Now, Trey, as you formulate your question, I promise you I'm going to get back into the 10-win lock conversation here. But let me see if I could find this photograph. We are big on the future fans of PHL. So Trey's daughter was one of the first people to really cheer for when we would put Bug on the screen. Now, the PHL OGs from a few years ago remembers Bug the Dog would make one appearance on every live stream, and you wouldn't know when it would happen. And I remember Trey super chatting a few years ago. I need to go back and go find this. Trey sending a $10 super chat saying, "Thank you so much. My daughter loves seeing Bug the Dog up there." So RIP Bug the Dog. So yeah, thank you so much, Trey, for your support over the years. I really appreciate you. John, what's up, man? Good to see you. On Creole says, yes, what's up, Kyle? It's been a while. Got some I'm telling you, the OGs are dusting off the laptops tonight. Hey Carter, if I ever see you at a game, I will give you a cash super chat. So the GOV doesn't get a cut. Gov, gotta watch out for Gov. Gov will come after you. Gov's got a buddy named Sam. Better watch out. They'll come take your money. Gov and Sam. You never, ever want to. So Trey, this was just watching me at 1.5 speed to catch up. That is kind of cool. So if you guys want to know something about me, all right. I actually do watch a lot of YouTube videos on 1.5 speed. Something else, and I'm going to give you, actually, you guys should thank Trey. I'm going to give you a big tip for my film studies, okay? So, hey, Chef Leandro, what's up, man? I'm going to give you guys a huge tip, okay? So, when I do film studies, I play the footage at slow motion, right? For a few reasons. Number one, it's a little bit easier to pick up on everything because we are breaking down a lot. But if you put the film study at 1.5 speed, if you prefer the film study to move a little bit faster, because they can be long, put the videos at 1.5 speed. Now, my voice becomes a little bit more high pitched and things are moving a little faster, but it does speed up the process if you want to watch the full hour. Now, some of you just like watching at regular speed. I totally get that. But, sometimes for me, if I am consuming a lot of content, I am going to, I'm going to speed things up. Now, a few of you have requested more film studies this offseason. Well, guess what? We're doing that right now with high school prospects. Now, some of you don't care for the high school breakdowns, but the high school breakdowns we are doing right now are players that have already signed with the university. So the high school breakdowns are of LSU football players. And what I look for when I am actually grading these prospects. So tomorrow on Patreon, you're going to see the final grades for two players, JV Toviano and Whit Weeks. And we are also going to continue our high school footage breakdowns and Under Armour All-American breakdowns of all these different players. Spring practice. I know, Trey, you love these spring practice breakdowns that we do. We are going to continue that when spring actually gets here. We don't have an official date, but it does look like March obviously is going to be when it starts. I heard March 9th. That's literally around the corner. So I don't think it'll be then. I think it'll be a little bit later. So we'll see. It is interesting. I'm waiting to see the spring game date. I've heard different rumors for the actual date. We know it's more than likely going to be on a Saturday. I would not mind a weekday spring game either, but still, we'll see. So, Rob, you get to pick the next topic. Thank you so much. Gov will take a little piece of this, as will Sam. But, Rob, you get to pick the next topic. You go right on ahead, and thank you for your support of PHL. Look at you rocking the black polo, man. That's good, man. With cousin Ursh. Huh? I love it. Leandria, good to see you. Don't forget, I know some of you people only like YouTube. I like all my viewers to be on YouTube, but we have started a Power Hour LSU Facebook page. So we are live on the Power Hour LSU Facebook page. Just going to be honest, I'm not going to be the absolute most active on there, but some people don't have a Google account. They only have a Facebook account. The joint Facebook accounts that are out there, Bill and Sheila Johnson or whatever. You guys see it. You know what that normally is a sign of, but there's people out there that only have one social media account and it's on Facebook. So I bit the bullet and I suck at Facebook. But if you want to share the Power Hour LSU live stream in different Facebook groups, I know it's a good way to grow. That's why I'm deciding to do it. Power Hour LSU on YouTube. Hey, here's someone I got to have lunch with recently, a big PHL supporter, Dylan. Good to see you. Also known as Mint, a big part of what we're doing. It's kind of strange. So, quick story about Dylan. He and I, we've talked plenty of times, but it's mostly just been about football cards. And just to let you guys know, Dylan decided to hook your boy up with a very fun card. This is a Jamar Chase tie-dye card. Look at that. How cool is that? And there's only 25 of these cards in existence. So this card is now a part of my setup. I change up my setup every now and then. Normally, this is just my quarterback row. So you see Jaden, you see Drew back here somewhere, you see Peyton, you see Joe. So Jamar I put on the quarterback. I put Jamar Chase right there because, come on, he's Jamar freaking Chase. What's interesting, so I saw an analytics account tweet this out. Oh, wow, okay, I see what you're doing here, Dylan. Let me look at it. I actually have this card. So this card is actually right here. Look at this. I'll show this to you. And I actually have the serial numbered 7 card. I'm going to lose all my viewers, but I wanted to show this. There you go. So it never got on focus, but still, it's one of my favorite cards. But this was very interesting. So I want to share a cool fact about Jamar Chase. I think Jamar is probably like top 10 most popular players on this channel. So Jamar Chase's high school tape is truly absurd. And something happens when, you watch like high school tape of But for real, Dylan, if you ever see a card like that, send it to me. I always say this. If you guys think you see a cool LSU card, send it to me because I want to see it. I might buy it. I might know a buyer. You just always send it to me, okay? But um, but I'm glad you brought this up, Dylan. So Jamar Chase, this was absurd. This was absolutely absurd. I saw that Jamar Chase in high school had a run, and it wasn't a run, it was a run after the catch, where he was able to sustain 21 miles per hour for a full 50 yards. Okay. So, what does that mean exactly? Well, 21 miles per hour is tough to reach. There are really good, like, college running backs who can't, like, if they had the clearest run, they could not touch 21 miles per hour. So Jaden clears 21 by a lot. So that shows you how good Jaden is. But what's hard is to clear 21 and sustain that level of speed, right? And Jamar is a freak. He can sustain 21 miles per hour for long periods of time. So if you wonder why Jamar Chase makes a lot of the things in the NFL look like, he's playing against college guys, it's because he is a transcendent athlete. Um, and his high school stuff is just so absurd. It is it is crazy. Good. What's up, man? I like that. Derek, also a big card guy. I couldn't roll that fast downhill. So, like, think it's a high school kid running 20, like, to hit 21 miles per hour. You've got to be a dude. Like, you can't, like, that's hard to do. But to run that and maintain that level of speed is extremely difficult. He's quite literally built different. Bro, I'm built different. No, you're not. If you can drink 5 beers in one setting, doesn't mean you're built different. Let's go to Jason with the super chat. Let's talk about the lack of respect for Malik Speed. Dudes on Facebook are flat ignorant. So, this is the downside of starting a PHL Facebook channel. As many of you know, you see on our YouTube channel, part of the reason why I've never wanted to do the Facebook thing is you guys and gals see how discourse can be on Facebook. All right. YouTube can spread obvious lies, but there aren't threads on YouTube of just the craziest crap you'll ever see. Okay. Now, do I like Facebook? Yeah, it's fine. I'm cool with it. There's a lot of good in my life that has come from, Facebook and connecting with grandma and all that stuff. That's great. Okay. But there are some people on Facebook that say some absolutely ludicrous things. Okay. So Malik Neighbors is a special player. I think it's okay for us to call him special. Now, of course, you can call any player any type of superlative you want, right? We all view players differently. Okay. Now, what I would say is always be cognizant of who you call special. What I consider special is someone that is truly a needle mover. So every year on LSU's team, they probably have roughly, depending on the year, anywhere from 4 to maybe 7-ish. Obviously, 2019 had a ton of special players, but normally have like 3 or 4 guys that are like, okay, undoubtedly this guy is a dude. And Malik hit that level. And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of shocked me. I knew he was going to be very good. Don't get it twisted. I did not think he would be first round NFL draft good right now. And he is. If he were eligible right now for the NFL draft, he would probably go second, but for his crop year, he is going to be a first round pick. The only wide receiver, and Derek Richard, you can help me with this because you do a lot of Devy and Dynasty fantasy stuff. Marvin Harrison of Ohio State is the only wide receiver that would be a first round player that most people would take over Malik Neighbors. Okay. So Malik is special. He is in the tier with Odell and Jarvis and Jamar Chase and those guys. He's in that atmosphere. Now, will his legacy ultimately be with those guys? We'll see how this final year actually goes. Um, and you also do have to account for the situation, right? As far as throwers are concerned, Jaden is not on the same level as obviously, the GOAT and Met when it comes to throwing. Now, he is a very good quarterback, but Malik made a lot of really high difficulty level catches. And that in and of itself deserves a lot of praise. So whether it's Malik's speed, whether it's his catch radius, whether it's crunch time ability, as we saw in Mississippi State and Alabama, he's a dog, man. You guys know the internet memes, right? The X-ray of the dog inside the rib cage. Malik has pit bulls there, right? He's got some dog in him, and yeah, I mean, I know he was just in the news. I'm glad everything is done with that. And now we have ourselves an alpha wide receiver heading into next season. So we'll see. You got to be careful on Facebook. There's people out there that would just want to spread fake news. What's up, Jared, on the Facebook? What's good, man? So Cliff is referencing one of the all-time best PHL discussions. Okay. Let's go to Carvis' super chat. It's true. Well, at least 247 ranks higher if he didn't get hurt in high school. Yeah, and that was a very tough evaluation, right? But what was interesting is if you actually go look on YouTube, I think it's still up. But and I know it's 7-on-7, but some of his 7-on-7 stuff was ridiculous. And I remember watching it and I was like, wow, this is crazy. But yeah, Malik is a dog, man. He is a dog. I like this comp, D Hop with speed. Now, D Hop is very fast too, but I get what you're saying, right? He does remind you a little bit of DeAndre Hopkins. Now, here's what I want to do. Okay. Jason, thank you for the super chat. Obviously, it is open for discussion. It's been a very fun live stream. I enjoy doing the Sunday nights. We might do more Sunday nights and less Saturday nights. Saturday nights are very busy for everybody. I love doing a good Sunday nighter, right? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. You prefer Sunday nights over Saturday nights. Type Y for yes. Type in for no. No. Another Ohio State guy. Huh? Huh? I love it. Pretty excited about Colin Hurley tomorrow night. This is a comment of the night. I'm doing 65 miles per hour while watching this episode. That's true, and you're sustaining it. Now it depends if you're driving through Dotson, Louisiana, go the speed limit, not an MPH above or below. Okay, Go the exact speed limit if you're going through any small town in Louisiana, because you will get popped. Okay, I'm telling you, they'll hide in the branches, and next thing you know, them blue lights they coming after you. Josh says 7 nights. I need 7. I don't think Haley would like that, but so everybody's preferring the Sunday night. So yeah, so let's do it. Let's do Sunday nights instead of Saturday nights for the off season. Okay. And who does we'll do. I know there's some people that only have off, for Saturday nights. I always try and keep in mind like people like Tyler that works a lot of nights. Um, we'll still do some Saturday night stuff too. TJ's a Sunday guy. That's good. Saturday nights will be more nights for PHL get-togethers. And once again, we're still trying to iron out all the details for our next one. We are doing another one in North Louisiana pretty soon. Pretty excited about that. We had so much fun at our last one in Bossier. Tyler showed up. Black OT showed up. Pierce was there. Dane. We got a lot of Danes. Got Dane Bergeron, Dane Pritchard. We got a bunch of Danes I watch. Ant. God, we had so many people show up. And obviously, Lance Hurd and Trey Holly help out a lot. Junction City. Got to be careful. Georgetown, LA. Speaking of Georgetown, I was thinking about this recently, okay? And I promise 30-second aside. College basketball needs some of these basketball schools to get back to prominence. And this has nothing to do with what's happening off the court here. But I don't like these Alabama Crimson Tide great basketball teams. Be honest, when the Florida Gators won back-to-back championships, it didn't feel right. Florida fans didn't even know what to do with that. You're a football school. You're not a basketball school, right? Let's separate the two. We don't need freaking what we need, okay? And my 80s and 90s folks are going to agree with me. This was before my time, but the Skippers and the JSBs know about Georgetown, UNLV. We need these schools to be back. We need these programs, freaking St. John's. I'm tired of these programs sucking. Like, there is something cool about having basketball schools. What I consider like just pure basketball schools, like obviously you think of the Blue Buds, you think of Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas. You guys know what that is. But a basketball school is a school like Marquette. Now Marquette's good this year, but still, I need these schools back. Like, I need Georgetown to be good, right? Georgetown has produced the coolest NBA players of all time, right? Allen freaking Iverson, Georgetown. And could you imagine the world without Allen Iverson? You couldn't. You couldn't. All right, but I'm done with that. Seton Hall. UMass. So, hear me out. Okay. If a school wants to win, hire Rick Pitino. I know. There's danger. There's danger in hiring Rick Pitino. But heck, if Hugh Freeze can get a job, let's be honest. Old schoolers, please correct me if I'm wrong. How many coaches on the planet are better at coaching basketball than Rick Pitino right now that are currently coaching? So Roy Williams doesn't count. Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino is number freaking one. There's nobody better than Rick Pitino at coaching the sport of basketball. Pure coaching talent. He's number one. I swear to you. I swear. Rick is a dog. I mean, he can freaking coach. But, 15 seconds is a thing. Let's go to John Sibley's Super Chat. We had exactly 69 viewers when I said that. With NIL, do you think that coaches will be less likely to protect players? Will the portal affect the treatment of the student athletics? Okay. So, as John Sibley, as you guys know, John Sibley very generous, but his super chats are always very good and thoughtful. Okay. And by the way, Rick Pitino's not coming to the SEC. He's too old. He wants to stay in the Northeast. Georgetown, please go hire Rick Pitino. Please go. I mean, John Thompson is rolling over in his grave that this team can't win. We need Georgetown back. That's the program I want back, is Georgetown. Anyway, do you think that coaches will be less likely to protect players? Okay. What do you mean by protect players? Okay. And while I wait for that response, will the portal affect the treatment of the student athletes? So the second one is more interesting than the first. Okay. Will the portal affect the treatment of these student athletes? Okay. So basically, what I'm guessing you're saying here, John Sibley, is will coaches be more likely to get fed up with players because, well, you can leave at the drop of the dime either way, anyway. Or it could also be the opposite. Do coaches have to handle kids with kid gloves? And I'm thinking that's what this question is more referenced towards. Do you think that coaches will be less likely to protect players? I think with NIL, just depending how much a player might get, and I'm guessing coaches will have knowledge of how much money a player is getting, it could be that coaches overall and schools overall have to treat players even better. Now, this is an aside here, John Sibley, so I will be brief on this topic, but if I were LSU, one thing that I would do right now, and I know it would be somewhat costly, but at the same time, it is not. Georgia had a very interesting story come out, and I would negatively recruit the heck out of this. So there's a story involving Jalen Carter, I believe. I could be totally wrong on this. I've had a lot happen in the past few weeks of my life, but Jalen Carter, there was a report that he would pay for a walk-on's meals with his NIL money. Okay. So what I would say to that is, why are walk-ons not part of every meal plan? If he's not getting a scholarship, at the very least, walk-on should be fed. Now, this isn't to get confused with the restaurant walk-ons. We're talking about actual football walk-ons not being able to eat. Now, I would love to know if LSU allows walk-ons to have meal plans, but I believe that they should, right? You got to make a lot of food anyway. I would, at the very least, make sure every player that suits up for the university gets fed, that they have a meal plan. Okay. So I do think there are some things that the student athlete has going better for them now more than ever before. Obviously, with name, image, and likeness, and every university has top of the line facilities in the SEC right now. I can't really think. I mean, there's so many of these stadium tours that are done, or these facility tours that are done now. All of them look good. Like if you looked at LSU's, obviously LSU's looks amazing. It is great. I've read up on Chef Michael Johnson. It's a very fun thing. It's a fun wormhole to get into. But all these facilities are great now. Um, but let's see a follow up here. Keeping them out of trouble, cover for them next portal person up. Okay. So do I think coaches will be less likely to protect players? What I do think, John Sibley, is I think coaches are going to be a lot more careful about just everything now, right? I think if I were a coach, every time I walk in front of the microphone, I am ready for whatever and whenever, right? Um, and I think you in this day and age need to be viewed as pro player. I think the days of, and this had already been fading away, but the days of like the Bobby Knights of the world are just over. Like coaches that are really hard on players. But what I think is still going to be key is you can't become too player friendly. You have to maintain a level of discipline with your program, a level of evenness with your program. And what I mean by that is, yes, your better players are going to get preferential treatment, but you you don't want to be too laissez-faire about anything now, because there's like every last little thing about your program is under a microscope. So you want to keep the brand and everything. You want people to view you as pro player as much as you possibly can. So hopefully I answered your question. Okay, I do think coaches um are going to continue to maintain the same level of protecting players through difficult times. But as you know, John Sibley, being in academics and athletics for as long as you've been, um, it is also important to keep in mind that uh, I'm trying to say this the nicest way possible. Um, how good you are oftentimes determines how far somebody will go for you, right? Um, so yes, do you really? Darius Geis rushing for 3,000 in the IFL. That is very interesting. Value puts this um, in the chat with the Vegas Nighthawks of the Indoor Football League. So this is a 2023 league. The league consists of 14 teams and 2 conferences. The Indoor Football League. Crazy as that. Now, don't forget, get your PHO merch today. I'm rocking the long sleeve gray shirt. As you can see, we are big on gray here at PHL. Rock your PHL merch, baby. PowerHourLSU.com. Help pay my web fees. Okay. Rick Pitino can't handle social media. I'm telling you right now, man. I'm being as honest as I possibly can. Y'all think I'm joking about this Rick Pitino stuff. dude, this guy, like if you actually go look at that Louisville team, that team was so solid. They played together and they were just so smart. Rick can coach. Now they have to vacate that title, but Louisville still celebrated it. So who cares? We got to vacate a title. I do, Tyler. I actually have, I think, 2 left for sale. Sold a few actually in Baton Rouge this week. But yeah, we have a few. Actually, when I was hanging out with Cliff earlier today in BR, we're both rocking the PHL hats, baby. Let's go. I love it. PHL Nation. Let's go. Stefan holding it down on the FB. What's good, man? Chance says him and Patino are bros. Well, Chance, text him right now. Let him know that his fellow, I don't know what fraternity you are, Sigma Chi or TKE or Kappa Sigma. The one I have now. Oh, well, take a look here. PHL Nation. If you want to go out there and catch some bass, rock the PHL hat. Oh, you need a fresh one for stepping out. Lambda Chi. That's good. So, you know, something else that is as cool as a PHL hat. Pressy Collection, PressyCollection.com. I'm telling you, Tony's tough to beat. Tony is tough to beat. Pressy Collection, PressyCollection.com. You guys know the drill. Diamond rings, necklaces, and more with the Pressy Collection. Gotta love it. Tony's always ready to go. You have to admit, Tony's always, if he's not first, he's second or third. But we all know the famous phrase, if you're not first, you're last, baby. Huh? Let's go, Tony. I think Tony, whenever he types in Pressy Collection and he's first, I think he actually drops his phone and does this. Walks around his house. You need to make a PHL frat logo. I would join that for fraternity. Well, it depends, right? What would that even look like? Like, I don't know. I love Greek food. I get down, boy. Greek and Mediterranean food. Bro. Stefan, my man. Or Stefan. I don't remember which one. Okay. Good to see you. Danny G, what it do? Danny girl's in here tonight. Holding it down. Big story. LSU recruit from Georgia packs his bags after 2 months. So we are an hour in. We'll reset. Yeah, we talked a good bit about Daugherty for the first 20-ish minutes. I think, long story short, now if you do Super Chat, I'll go back into the deep, analysis. If not, you can go watch the first part of PHL again. But long story short, it's not a big loss. In my estimation, it's just not. I'm not saying that just because he just entered, because how I feel about a player's actual ability doesn't change with where they go to school. Like, for instance, I had a pretty solid grade on Darren Reed, and he's going to Auburn now. That doesn't change. And when Harold Perkins committed to Texas A&M, you go back and listen to the live streams at the time. Yeah, I still said this is the best recruit in 2022, and we need to do what we can to get him. And that actually turned out to be true. He ended up being the best player. So you don't you don't ever really know. Like you don't. We all do our own evaluations, or I think most of you do. You have your own thoughts about certain players. For me, Doherty was not one of my top guys LSU has coming in. I think if you watch enough of our live streams, some of the lower tiered guys that I think actually are going to be really good players for us. So there you go. But yeah, I think if we did a PHL frat, we would have to step. So, Rob, you would be the one in charge of getting our step routine together. Because if there was a PHL fraternity, we'd have to step. Okay. We do not need a frat house. If we had a frat, I mean, I don't know what I'd want the PHL frat house to look like, but I don't know. I don't know what it looked like. But Rob, you would be in charge of putting together a step routine. You're the one that suggested it, so there you go. There's a lot of Greek in my family, lots of AKAs. Saw some of them this weekend. And that's obviously a sorority, but lots of Kappa Alpha size in my fraternity. So, my fraternity in my life. So, candy canes, let's go. What y'all know about that? Huh? So we would do a dance at a toga, 2 togas. Stefan is in your hometown. That's cool. Holding it down. The Noops. There you go. Look at Chance. Chance knows about it. When I was at school, one of my buddies was a Phi Beta Sigma. I love the song. I'm not going to sing the song, but Phi Beta Sigmas, they're cool. Oh, you're Noob? Let's go. Let's go. I like that. That's cool. Yeah, I know. Eunice High School, class of 94, born and raised in my family, is still there. That's cool. Holding it down. Very fun live, though, tonight. If you're just joining us, we're still going to hang out, though. I'm going to be honest. All right. I need y'all's help. Okay. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Long drives are a major pain in the rear. And I think long drives constitutes 4.5 hours or longer. Okay. So type Y for yes, type in for no. Like, you can't do it. Or no, it's if you're typing no, you're saying, hey, it's a pain in the rear end, but it's not the end of the world. It's just, uh, and you just got to do it. So, what's interesting? I love a good long drive. I really do. Now, do I dread it? Packing and all of that? Yeah, I dread it. And obviously the gas money, the stopping. What if you get mud butt? There's all kinds of just horrible things that can happen. And obviously the dangers of driving long distances. Obviously, people get tired. People drive crazy. Automobile accidents are can be hurtful, expensive, deadly, all those different things. Okay. Um, you know, I it's not bad. And what's very interesting to me, okay, so I listen to a lot of, things that I'm interested in. I do a sports card podcast, so I'll listen to a lot of sports card podcasts. I'll occasionally listen. I'll go back and listen to LSU live streams that we do. Um, I'll listen to other SEC stuff, but I'm telling you, and this changed my life is listening to Revisionist History by Malcolm Gladwell. Huge fan of the show. And I understand not a lot of people like him. It is a very deep thought podcast. It's very philosophical in nature, and it makes you, rethink a lot of different things. And my brother had never listened to it. And he was traveling with me, today. And, those long drives, whether it be listening to something like that or jamming out in a car with a family member or just chatting during those times. The one thing here's my favorite thing about um, a longer drive is you obviously can't text. Now, some people still text during a drive. I try to avoid it as much as I can. Um, but the good thing about a drive is it does force your mind to be focused. You can't be distracted by your phone. You can't be distracted by, outside forces, if you will. And I think very clearly during a drive, whether it be listening to a podcast, whether it be just my own thoughts. And you start to begin to really like just thinking about just anything. Like, for instance, here's one thought that popped into my head, and it's LSU football related. Okay. And you guys might totally disagree with this because, look, I think if you were to ask most LSU fans, okay, so let's say LSU fans that are above the age of 25, right? So, you know, people that have experienced a good bit of LSU football, I think most people would be able to say Patrick Peterson is one of the one of the best LSU football players of all time. But when I really earlier today, I was thinking about just all the great LSU players, and my brother doesn't care about sports, but I was just thinking, I was like, God, like Patrick Peterson, it is just amazing what all that guy accomplished in a very short amount of time. And the one thing I think he doesn't get enough credit for was he is truly the guy that maximized the most of his time at LSU during a 3-year period. I don't think he ever missed a game. Um, the DBU, like the actual, like us calling LSU DBU, kind of started with him. Now, he didn't start DBU. There was Corey Webster and plenty of other great, DBs before him, Tommy Casanova, whoever. But he kind of started that, and he kind of started the number 7 thing. It was him. He was the first, like, number 7. Once again, there was Burt Jones, Allie Highsmith, and all these other guys that wore that jersey before him. But he kind of started that. Helped, revive Tyrann Matthews' career. Helped start Tyrann Matthews' career at LSU. He was young for his recruitment. He was younger in the class, and studies have been proven that if you're older, if you're held back, you have a leg up. Older players are more likely to become 5-star recruits. So if you're younger and you're a 5-star, it's even more impressive. And just right from the jump, he was very, 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 very good, and then became all-time great, his final year when, he almost got an invite to New York City. So I'm not saying he's underrated, because everybody is going to put Patrick Peterson in their top 10 players of the modern era. But it is just amazing. Like, how many times can you say Patrick Peterson just had a bad game in LSU? It's hard. Like, you got to really go back and look. It's just amazing. It's just truly amazing what all this guy did for the university. And am I a little biased because I talked to him a lot, because we're, around the same age, and, I talked to him a bunch just on campus. But more often I talk to him, at the LSU facility. He's just great. He's just a great man. Like, when you think of, like, true leaders, we throw that word around a lot. I mean, the guy was truly a leader of men. Never afraid to go head up against Julio Jones, AJ Green, just all these freaking legends, man. And I was just going back. I was like, God, this guy was just so good. And it's so interesting that we have seen so many LSU players have all this hype going into their year 3 and it not deliver. And Patrick Peterson got better every year. Like, true freshman had about as good of a true freshman year as you could have. As a sophomore, second team All-American. So as a senior, can he be first team All-American? Oh yeah, he was. And then he almost freaking, got an invite to New York City as a defensive player. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then the Alabama game. So let's take the famous 09 Alabama game, right? So what's interesting is 2 very unfortunate things happened in that game. The first is obviously his feet being clearly in bounds, both of them. And ironically, I was on the sideline for that game. So that wasn't, the play didn't happen in front of me, but I remember it like directly in front of me. I remember it very vividly. And God, it was such a bizarre play. But the downside of that game was, he had been holding Julio Jones in check for a good portion of that game, and then he caught a cramp, and they put Brandon Taylor, who eventually became a safety, on the field. And BT is one of the solid LSU defensive backs, and obviously, still serves the university in a radio capacity. But they put Brandon Taylor out for a play. Obviously, Nick Saban being a great coach, they immediately called a screen to Julio Jones, and that's when he took the ball 60 yards. And Brandon Taylor, coming cold off the bench, probably shouldn't have been guarding Julio there, but that's what happened. So that game, and I could tell you this, and every one of you should know this. That game stuck with Patrick Peterson, because you play all this time, And then, the one play that Julio gets, and that kind of became Julio's iconic play at Alabama. Was kind of has a little bit of an asterisk next to it. Obviously, that play doesn't happen on Patrick Peterson. So, that was a very bizarre night. But obviously, we beat them in 2010, and that was the last time we beat them at home until 2022. So, it's very interesting. Lots of John Trey Kirkland in the chat tonight. Really excited about him. I did not know, during until the broadcast, he had the off the field thing. Um, but yes, I'm very happy for him. And uh, not only John Trey Kirkland on the Roughnecks, but Kerry Vincent on the Roughnecks. I was a little shocked that Kerry Vincent isn't in the NFL. How good he was for us in 2019. Towards the end of the year, he was one of our better players on defense. And yeah, took home the national championship. AP coming in late. You've always been a big John Trey guy. That's good. A chance to ballroom dancing? ABS, look, JSB, look. I will never shame a man for learning how to dance. Not everybody can move JSB like you. But going back to the driving thing, I know I didn't have some like revolutionary thought and I've made that be clear. But when you really think about it, like really think about all the great players of LSU in the modern era. Think of all the great ones. How many of them gave you 3 elite years where they got better each and every season? Now, there were some good third-year guys for LSU this year. Obviously, Ojolari, Roy, and Kayshawn, played and started, all 3 years, and they had varying degrees of success in all 3 of those seasons. But, really think about how many guys truly got so much better each and every year. It's hard. It's really hard. So, yeah, I don't know why I want to do a random rant on PP7, but go through every elite LSU player that has played. Doesn't matter how many years. How many of them gave you 3 elite seasons? There's not as many as you think. Not as many. And there's a lot of guys that had big year twos, and then year threes were either not as great as year two or year one. And that could be a wide variety of factors, them changing schemes, coaching changes, injuries. There's a lot. Yeah, Terry. God, man. What he had? Did he have a pick versus Ole Miss or something like that too? I don't know. But Carey, man, God, you really ended the season strong for us. Yeah, Chad's definitely up there too, right? It's so interesting. Like one of uh, Peterson's iconic plays. And I think, like obviously when like if you were to go up to a random LSU fan and say, okay, who is the first LSU defensive player that comes to your mind? More often than not, everyone's going to say Tyrann Matthew, right? Or Devin White. Now, a lot of people will mention, Patrick Peterson, in the top five or whatever. The difference, though, is Tyron did have more of these unique, iconic plays than Patrick did, and we were on the road to a national championship game. But yeah, it's a very interesting dichotomy. Um, but yeah, Chad Jones definitely had um, great 3-year progression, right? So true freshman season. Um, Man, he made some big plays for us. Obviously, the Alabama play was so big, and that was obviously the biggest one of his illustrious career. He also was the one who batted the Florida Hail Mary at the end of the game down. But obviously, he had the Mississippi State game. He had which is still the craziest defensive plays you'll ever see. He had the punt return in that game, which Patrick Peterson, the arm third base coach uh, move. And then, of course, you have, the Arkansas hit, which is probably, Chad's iconic moment, right? The Alabama play is obviously the more important play, but the Arkansas hit um, is still crazy. Now, true story. The guy who got hit was an Arkansas wide receiver named Joe Adams, and Joe wasn't a big guy. And I was doing a stand up in in Arkansas. Okay, and there was a joke I did about Arkansas football not being great. Now it wasn't a like low hanging fruit joke, and I always did the joke in Arkansas, and you know they say don't turn the audience against you, and I would mention I'm an LSU fan or something like that. And I did some Arkansas joke, and the crowd, there was probably like 10 or 15 people in the audience. And I swear on everything, Joe Adams was one of the people in the audience. And he gave me such a sour look. I was like, this guy really took this joke hard. Um, and I remember seeing him and I was like, God, this guy just did not like that joke. And I saw him taking photos with people after the show. I was like, okay, this guy, I don't, he might be famous. I don't know. And then they're like, yeah, it was Joe freaking Adams, who was like a Patrick Peterson level punt returner. He might be the best punt returner ever in the SEC. There's a lot of guys you can point to, Tyrann Matthew being one of them. But yeah, that's my Joe Adams story. Joe Adams is up there. Tyrann Matthews up there. Javier Arenas is up there. Chad. Oh yeah, it is baseball season too. Chad Jones. I was in Omaha for that Chad Jones eruption. I hate how Chad Jones' career ended. Danny is known as the world traveler of PHL. Did you know Danny Girl has lived in London, which is awesome. Love me some London, England. Mm. I was reading this. Jared, thank you for the super chat. We'll keep the party moving, baby. I was getting ready to do it. We're gonna keep it moving. No, you didn't say anything wrong. He would tell you that's what happened. I mean, that's what happened. That is objectively what happened. He never got his fair shot at the NFL, right? Did anybody watch the baseball games this weekend? So glad I didn't spend the $25. I heard the reception was terrible. So please educate me on this. And Jared, you get to pick any topic on the planet Earth that you want. Okay? But please, please correct me on this. I heard that the baseball games are being streamed, but it wasn't like ESPN Plus. I heard it was just on a website. Now, I don't know the website. Okay. Um, as you guys know, I'm going to stick with, LSU football, but, LSU baseball is a big deal. And if you guys want to talk LSU baseball, I'm going to give it my best. Okay. I could name 4 or 5 players on the team. I hope Jay Johnson takes his team to Omaha. The pitching coach, Wes, um, was a neighbor of a friend of mine, and I heard he's a great guy. So I want this team to do great things. Okay. But I'm there's plenty of people that cover the baseball team better than me. So I always say that. But I want newbies to know that we keep it LSU football, right? So I heard that this was an issue. Okay. Um, and I hate that, right? Because you spend your money and you just want to watch the games, and it gets frustrating because I know a lot of old schoolers watch PHL, and figuring out YouTube can be an issue, right? I know a lot of you watch on TV and you want to have the chat on, the screen. Some of you watch on TV and watch the chat on your phone. That's all great. Okay. So, I heard about this, so that this was a major, major issue. Um, some people told me that it was okay. By some people, I mean one person. One person told me he didn't have any issues. But I saw, everybody's on Twitter. I saw that there were some people complaining. Now, do I know it was like a series of games. So was it just the LSU games, or was it all the games, or could it have not been the LSU games but all the other games? I don't know. But live sports are tough to broadcast. It's hard, and baseball in particular is hard because it's hard to follow the ball. Like basketball is a little bit easier. Football could be tricky, but it's not too difficult. I've filmed baseball games. It can be tricky, right? So I hate that. I hope it wasn't too bad. So yeah, Lakata, the boot. What up, baby? PB, Ant D Dub. but it wasn't an LSU problem that I understand. So was it a problem on the games, the LSU games, or are you saying that it wasn't LSU's fault that these issues were happening? Whatever the case may be, I just hate that. I do. I hate it not only for them, but I also hate it for, the people that try to stream this. But okay, so LSU wasn't in charge of it. So, yeah. I'm here to tell you this. It's coming from someone that is a broadcast media nerd. I've been in production trucks. I've been part of ESPN broadcast crews as like a sideline, like rope guy, wire guy, whatever. I have filmed games on the sidelines. This stuff is hard. Like, it's not easy to put together a sports broadcast. It just isn't. Any radio broadcast, anything like that, there is a leap of faith every time you do it, connection wise, all of it, all of it. It's painful. There's so many different things that can go wrong with live, just any kind of programming, right? I was having a conversation with a family member last night. Chris Rock is getting ready to do a live special. Like, it is live. What you are going to watch is going to be live. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. Anything can happen. And so many malfunctions can happen. Wi-Fi go down, mics go out. I mean, anything live is difficult, especially sports, because unlike a Chris Rock set, the camera people know the set. They would have filmed it once. They're going to do probably dry runs of how it's supposed to go. Those have scripts. Those have outlines. Sports do not, especially baseball. Now, once again, some people say they didn't have issues. Let me also say this, okay? And I know I'm not the person, I'm not the person to have this opinion, but I'm going to have the opinion. You can't do anything about it. It's my channel. But I am not P1 demographic for baseball. I am not a baseball fan. I'm just not. Like, it's just, I'm not of the, like, some of you are super diehard. You don't miss a pitch. Okay. I love the new rules. Speed the mother effing game up. Pitch clock, get in the daggum circle, throw the mother effing ball. Okay? Don't freaking get off the mound, fix your jock strap, take a dip, pick up the rosin, do the stanky leg, just throw the daggum pitch. Don't call for time. If you're in the batter's box, you're in the batter's box. Speed it up. What's up, Hal? Good to see you. Long time no see, Hal. Speed it up. Speed it up. Speed it up. Yeah. Carter, you're hilarious. Speed it up from someone that watches a 3-hour soccer game that ends in a tie. Glad you brought that up, Danny. Because soccer broadcasts are exactly 2 hours, right? So they have a 45-minute half with extra time. So rounded up to about 47, 48 minutes. Then you have a 15-ish minute halftime. Then you play another 45-ish minutes with extra time at the second half. It's normally about 5-ish minutes. So 50 minutes plus the 15-minute halftime plus another 45-minute half. It comes out to about a 2-hour, 15-minute broadcast. By the way, a soccer game will never go 3 hours and end in a tie. You would have extra time and penalty kicks. So if it goes extra time and it is a 3-hour match, it is not going to end in a tie. Also, something else is soccer does not have commercials. It is nonstop. The clock never stops in soccer. So, could it end in a tie? Is there not a lot of scoring? You bet. But a soccer match will never be 3 hours and end in a tie. I truly believe that the batter's box pitch clock, but your overall point is still true, Danny. Soccer can be very boring and still end in a tie. And I know I'm a soccer guy. I love soccer 10 times more than I like baseball. I know. Okay. But I actually like softball better. Like, if I had the choice between watching college softball and college baseball, this is not like me saying it just to say it, but I would actually prefer the college softball over the baseball. It does seem like it moves a little faster. The games are a little bit shorter. Also, like, I occasionally will watch like some MLB stuff. Um, it's a good alternative, right? Like, I think college softball. I used to not think this was cool, but I kind of like the chant aspect of it. It really brings in the camaraderie and all that stuff. So Jared's with me on the softball. AP's with me on the softball. I would like to see a expound on this. I really believe the batter's box pitch clock will actually kill the game of baseball. Soccer has flopping and ridiculous fake injuries. Chance, there's no defending it. Now, some are better at not having this than others. There's some obviously very egregious, the Bruno Fernandezes of the world. Heck, some of my favorite teams have players that have been bad culprits of this. Luis Suarez being one of them. It's there. I mean, there's no, I would never defend it. In fact, I would call it out. It does seem, and one more thing for women's sports here, it does seem when I watch women's soccer, there's not a whole lot of that. Anecdotal. I don't think the women's soccer players flop as much and dive. In soccer, they call it diving. I should umpire softball, $40 a game. That's usually an hour. High school's around 80. You get $40 an hour to do softball. I'll do it. I could watch college baseball all day. I get bored watching MLB. So if I had the choice between watching LSU baseball and MLB baseball, I'm going to pick LSU and just SEC baseball in general. So yeah, especially with the super regionals, I'm normally pretty locked in. Regional, super regional stuff, I'm normally pretty locked in for that stuff. Sand beach volleyball, I'm a huge volleyball fanatic. I like it. I just do. Misty May, Carrie Walsh. They were fun. Let's be honest, they were a lot of fun to watch. We're making a road trip to Austin for the LSU baseball game? Can we make a last-second PHL get-together with John Sibley? So I saw the ending here. This was it was bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and they called the batter out for not getting in the box quick enough. Good. Get in there. I saw an LSU baseball game last weekend on what was it? It was it a batter's delay or a pitcher's delay or something? I don't remember. I would guess it would have to be. I don't know. I guess it could be a pitcher's delay. I don't know. I'm the Idris Elba meme. I drank too much in one thing. Liquid death, it's literally killing me. It's good though. Yeah, LSU won the game on the pitcher's delay, right? It was bases loaded or something like that, and they walked home the run. Four Loco? No, it's liquid death. It's mountain water in a can. I like it. All right, Danny. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to answer this question, and in the next 5 minutes, I'll answer as many as we possibly can. Okay, back to football. What will be the highest drafted LSU player in the draft? Will we have a first rounder? Okay. So going into the year, there were 3 players that were popping up on a lot of first round mocks. Okay. So those 3 players were Jaquelin Roy, Kayshawn, and BJ Ojulari. Now, Ojulari obviously had a really good season for LSU. Jaquelin Roy had a fine season. He had some, his role obviously changed this year, playing in the 4-3 of Ed Orgeron, where they told their defensive linemen to penetrate and make more plays. You're going to have, better stats than the role Jaquelin Roy played this year, but he was still fine statistically this year. You just didn't see him make as many wow plays. But yeah, before the season, PFF had Jaquelin Roy pretty high on their boards. And, I think, that might have overblown his draft status, but he's still going to get selected in the first couple of rounds, more than likely. And then obviously, Kayshawn, right? That's obviously the most complicated situation where he was a clear-cut first wide receiver, along with Jackson Smith and Jigba. JSN never really played this year, and Kayshawn, obviously coming off the injury, was never who he was in his first 2 seasons at LSU. So Kayshawn, of course, just slid on draft boards. Now, I am going to stick with my initial prediction on Kayshawn. Is there, and this is a worry. It did at times seem like he lost a bit of his explosiveness from the severity of his injury he suffered versus Kentucky. And the rehabilitation process for Kayshawn was tricky, right? It wasn't, everything didn't go as smoothly as everybody expected it to be. And then, of course, the BK stuff and a lot of, what happened on the field was also very clunky with the passing game and all of that. But overall, he was still a fine player for us this year. I'm still going to stick with him going in the first round for this reason. Number one, teams like safety, right? And what teams know is LSU has a lot of wide receivers that turn out to be really good in the NFL, and a lot of LSU wide receivers play a lot better than what you expect them to, right? Um, I know obviously the Jets and Jamar, they're arguably the two best receivers in the entire sport. They're obviously exceeding their lofty expectations coming in particular Jamar. But even guys like Racing McMath, there's just all these LSU receivers that turn out to be really good. So I think, I think Kayshawn, if he tests well, I think he'll start moving up boards, and I'm still going to go with him being the first player selected. So, will that be in the first round? We'll see. But BJ Ojolari seems like another player. Obviously, edge rushers go off the board quickly in the first round, as do receivers. So it's either going to be one of those two guys, and we'll see what happens. So we're going to answer as many other questions here at the end. We are approaching the 2-hour mark. A poopy butt. Tough to be explosive with a big old poopy butt. I guess if you are having, the runs, it's tough to be a good football player. But you are technically explosive, if you get what I mean. But yeah. Now, I need you guys to do me a favor. Okay. The live stream link for the hangout tomorrow with Colin Hurley is already set up. So if you could do me a favor, go to the YouTube, click that link, and hit the thumbs up button and the notification bell, and you will be reminded of our conversation tomorrow at 8:15 Central. I've talked to Colin a few times via Twitter. It seems like it's going to be a great conversation. So I'm pretty sure he's going to show up too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So tomorrow night, 8:15 Central. He's got a lot of things going on. It's really cool to have him spend some time with us. So we're looking forward to that. If for some reason it falls apart, we'll still go live tomorrow night. Why not? I know we normally don't do Monday night live streams, but the good news is you get me twice tomorrow. I will be on with Blake Ruffino tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and then we will do the Colin Hurley interview at 8:15 shortly after that. Okay? It is Power Hour LSU. Bam! Big thanks to our top super chatter tonight, Trey. I really appreciate you. Our normal super chatters, Buster, Jared, JSB. You guys and gals know who you are. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for making. And if I missed you on the super chat, I still love you. So there you go. Now, you can always support PHL by joining the Patreon. Once again, giving away a Garrett Nussmeier autograph card to the next person that joins the PHL Patreon. And yeah. And tonight, doing a Rotolo's Calzone. All right, Dylan, Jared, Tony, we'll see ya. Let's go.